On behalf of flip-floppers everywhere, thank you very much, Governor. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to welcome to Montpelier the holder of the highest office in the branch of government that on a day-to-day basis, case-by-case basis, law-by-law basis, measures and interprets what Madison and his colleagues really meant when they wrote and signed the Constitution. With pleasure, I present the 17th Chief Justice of the United States, Chief Justice John G. Roberts, Jr.
Happy Constitution Day. Thank you, Mr. Lair, for that gracious introduction. I would also like to thank Michael Quinn and the Montpelier Foundation for inviting me to this wonderful event. I'm very pleased to be here with Governor Kane, Representative Cantor, Richard Moe of the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and of course my colleague and friend Justice Alito and Mrs. Alito. There is no better place to celebrate Constitution Day than James Madison's beloved home. I congratulate the Montpelier Foundation on this magnificent restoration. If James Madison were here today, he would be proud that Montpelier stands with Mount Vernon and Monticello as landmarks of our founders' generation. He would be pleased with the quality of the restoration and the attention to historical detail. And given my own experience with the ongoing renovation at the Supreme Court, I'm sure that he would be glad to have been elsewhere while the contractors were at work. As we all know, James Madison had a deep affection for Montpelier. His grandparents and parents were early settlers of Orange County, and they chose for their home one of the most beautiful locations in Virginia's Piedmont. Public service took Madison to New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, but he was always drawn back to his roots at Montpelier, where he spent his retirement. With this authentic restoration, we can all understand why. Now, against the backdrop of Montpelier, James Madison stands out as a man of remarkable contrast. He was a small man of tremendous intellectual energy. He lacked natural skill as an orator, yet was surpassingly persuasive, as he demonstrated at the Virginia Ratification Convention. There, his diligent preparation and extraordinary ability to marshal facts allowed him to present cogent and winning arguments. Though gentle and bookish, he is our only sitting president to have engaged a foreign force on the battlefield, when he briefly commanded the defense of Washington during the War of 1812. Though hardly a humorist, he recognized a straight line when he heard one. When Madison was confined to his bed due to his last illness, a friend urged him not to waste energy by talking. Madison's response, quote, "I always speak most easily when I lie." Now, while Madison may have appeared frail in comparison to his larger-than-life contemporaries like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, he outlived those presidents and all of his fellow framers of the Constitution. As Madison himself put it, having outlived so many of my contemporaries, I ought not to forget that I may be thought to have outlived myself. Now, Madison has received extensive attention from biographers, including Irving Brandt's 6-volume work and Ralph Ketchum's 700-plus page book. But I think one of the most revealing accounts is Madison's own 15-page version of his life that he wrote near the end of his days. Yes, that's right, 15 pages and not a single footnote. Now, when Madison looked back on his life from the vantage point of 80 years, what did he remember most vividly about Montpelier? And I address the answer to that question especially to the younger members of our audience in the back. James Madison remembered his beloved home as a place for study, learning, hard work, and reflection. He fondly recalled his first teachers, Donald Robertson and Thomas Martin. And he also recalled his first courses, a daunting list that included Latin, Greek, mathematics, and geography. Madison, from his earliest days, had an insatiable appetite for reading. Even in old age, he specifically remembered reading in his youth from a popular 8-volume work of that era, The Spectator. He told his friends that this work met his test of good writing. It put, quote, proper words in their proper places. And maybe that helps explain how he could write a 15-page autobiography. Now, although Madison fondly recalled his early studies, he never ceased being a student, and throughout Madison's life, Montpelier was his study, his library, and even his laboratory. For example, he and Jefferson engaged in lively correspondence not just on politics and government, but also on science and farming. They jointly conducted studies on whether latitude or altitude had the more important effect on temperature. Madison even made careful measurements of the weasels and moles he found around here and compared them to their European counterparts to determine whether the different climates affected the size of animals. Why was Madison so devoted to learning throughout his life? Perhaps a letter he wrote in 1822 provides the answer. He told a friend, "Knowledge will forever govern ignorance, and the people who mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with the power which knowledge gives." Knowledge will always govern ignorance. This observation explains why our Constitution is such a powerful document. It is infused with all the knowledge James Madison and the other framers could bring to bear on the question of how to create a government in which the people would remain the masters of their own destiny. Montpelier restored, is certainly beautiful, but it is in no sense the most fitting memorial to James Madison. For that, we need to recall the inscription in St. Paul's Cathedral in London to Christopher Wren, its architect. Translated from the Latin, "If you're looking for his memorial, look around." If you're looking for Madison's memorial, look around. Look around at a free country governed by the rule of law. Thank you very much.